And now if I try see the permission, they are changed, and now what I have to do is ssh-i, then the name of the file, Ubuntu, and then the private IP address. Yes, now I'm within my master node. So through the patient instance, I'm able to to access to the Ansible server that reside in the private subnet, as well as to master node that reside in the private subnet as well. So what we have to do now is try to configure either our Ansible server and then our Kubernetes cluster using KubeADM. First thing that I'm going to do is to install the Ansible software. So Ansible 5 is not exist, so for that I have to install sudo install python -5. Yes, then install Ansible, and we have to wait until the installation is finished. So in the meantime, let me go to our master node. Right, let me change it here, call it master. And here if I try to ping to google.com, but it's obvious the ping will not work. Why? Because our master node in private subnets. Right. So to solve that, I think that I don't need to explain you the same thing. That's once you face this issue, you have automatically think that your instance is not connected to the internet. So to connect it to it, to connect your EC2 instance to the internet that is in the private subnet, you must think automatically to the NAT. So I have to go to my second account and try to go to VPC, and then create a NAT and do the same thing as I explain it here. So scroll down here and go to the NAT gateway. Then create a NAT. We'll call it my NAT. And here, where I want my NAT to reside, I want it to reside in the public subnet, because this one is able to communicate with the outside. I will look if I have already allocated elastic IP addresses. I have not, so I have to allocate a new one. Scroll down, then create the NAT. Scroll down here and go to the route table. Then go to private route table. Scroll down here and then edit the routes. And here I will say if any EC2 instance within this subnet that is inside this route table tries to communicate with an IP address that is not in or that is not belong to this CIDR, take it to the to the NAT gateway, and then to this one and save the change. So now let me come back and check if my NAT instance is active, which is independent state. We have to wait. So if we come back here to our Ansible, now the Ansible software is installed, and if I try type Ansible version, now it is installed. Another thing, I have to install it as long as I am trying to build a Docker images. I have to install Docker on my Ansible server as well. So for that I will type sudo yum install docker -yes. I will clear that, and if I try to check the Docker service is running, it's not running. So for that I have to type start, and if I try to check status, now it is running. But the problem is this user Abdulali will be not able to run the Docker commands. Why? Because this Abdulali does not belong to the Docker group. For that I have to switch to the root user and then use the command user mode, and then -a add this user to the Docker group. So this command enables us to add this user to this group. And if I switch to Abdulali, I type docker ps, now it works. So let me check if now my NAT is running. Yes, it's active now. If I try to ping again Google, ping cannot work. So I must come back to my root tables, and go to the private root table. Yes,